Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Stay Connected to Your Devices with X-Rite Link. Presenting today is Ben Spiegel, the Global Services Innovation Manager at X-Rite. I'm Robert Grotans, the Global Digital Learning Manager, and I'll be moderating today's webinar. I just want to go over a couple of things before we get started today. Due to the number of people that are attending today's webinar, we will keep everyone muted. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please feel free to use the questions function on the GoToWebinar panel, and we will have some time to answer a few of your questions at the end of this webinar. Finally, this webinar will also be recorded, and we will follow up with an email after this event with a link to this recording so that you can watch it again. So with that, I will turn it over to Ben to get things started.
Thank you, Robert, and hello everyone. As Robert said, my name is Ben Spiegel, and I'm excited today to talk to you guys about X-Rite Link and how it's able to help all of you stay connected with your different devices. So let's go ahead and get started. So X-Rite Link is a web-based platform that allows you to see your entire fleet of spectrophotometers in one place. It's designed to remove a lot of the manual management, a lot of the wasted time that used to go into trying to understand what's the status of my device, where is it located, and helping you ensure that it's really performing at the highest, most optimal level. So some of the things that it's able to do that we're going to be able to go through today are helping help optimize your workflow and the communication with different devices. Ways to connect with other X-Rite services to help you prove color proficiency and capability to your customers to really attract some of those high value color critical customers that may be looking at your organization. And then finally, some ways to track service so that you're always informed if a device did need to be sent in for, say, certification or repair, keeping you up to date when you can expect that device to return, and giving you all the information possible. So first off, ways that it can optimize your workflow. It can help you effectively manage devices to save time. So this is really about removing that manual tracking, that manual management of running around trying to find a device, see its certification or its net profile, and any other statistics about that instrument. All the information that you see for every device is going to be automatically loaded from the various X-Rite systems and support networks to give you that information at the tips of your fingers without having to search for anything like that. Whether it be those service records or any of this other bits of data, it really is going to give you a very granular view of what's going on with your devices. And we're going to spend some time later in this webinar in Link itself, so you'll be able to see the dashboard in real time. So for every device that is on X-Rite Link, there is a device card, and that device card has very basic information about the instrument and gives you visibility across the fleet. So you always know what's going on, where these devices are located. So everything from a warranty and service care plan status through the certification, net profiler, and for our newest device, the X-Acto, things like firmware version and some connectivity that's possible between this platform and the devices. And again, we'll get to explore more of this in detail. But before we dive into more about X-Rite Link, I wanted to pause for a moment and get an understanding from all of you of how you manage your connected devices today. So if you would take a moment and let us know, how do you keep track of all of your spectrophotometers? Is it any of these resources that you use, or are there other methods that you've used over time to keep tabs on these devices? All right, so here's the results of everyone that was able to provide some feedback. It looks like not tracking is actually the most popular, so that's interesting, and we can talk a little bit more about that and in ways that this may be able to be a solution, get you some of that information. Also seeing the second is other, so I'd be curious if anyone would want to share in the chat, what are some of the other ways that you're trying to keep track of instrumentation throughout your fleet? So as those come in, we can try and address those later. But for now, we'll keep going so we can get to the demo and get to experience Link. So one of the other ways that X-Rite Link is able to help you is being able to prove color proficiency. So it's able to show net profiler data in a way that we've never had the ability to show this information before. So showing your capability and the improvement and the impact of the inter-instrument agreement impacts that software can have on those devices and visualizing that. So for example, you could share that with customers and show the different ways that you're maintaining your fleet so that they have confidence in the color control capabilities that you're able to provide for them. But first off, what is Net Profiler? So Net Profiler is a utility that helps to verify and optimize the performance of an instrument. It's able to tighten the inter-instrument agreement of a fleet of devices and make sure that you know in the field on a regular interval that they're performing at optimal levels. So that data is all managed through the Net Profiler system, but is also ported into X-Rite Link and visualized in several different ways. So let's have a look at some of that. One way is within a Net Profiler statistics panel that shows for a fleet-wide view what the impact is. So you're able to see at a glance to help you actively manage how many devices have an active profile and how many may require some attention. The next is the impact on those instrumentations. So a before and after glimpse of what your delta E value is and how it's having an impact on those devices. That same data is also represented in a histogram visually from an unprofiled to a profiled perspective, where you can see that left shift to the lower delta E and a tightening of the fleet around those smaller delta E values, showing that the entire fleet is agreeing with itself better and is going to be performing more closely and not wasting tolerance over the measurement perspective. So lots of great information that can be shown, and also some information that can help be actionable for you throughout the organization and making sure that your devices are operating effectively. So then there's service tracking capabilities within X-Rite Link. So every time a device is sent into one of the X-Rite service centers, all that information is sent within X-Rite Link, giving you full access, control, and visibility. So you can see when the service record was created, all the way through it being returned to you in real time, so that you always are on top of it and you know what's going on with that instrumentation. It also is able to provide a full history of all the different service records over time, so there's no need to store those somewhere else or be able to track when was this device sent in or anything like that. It's all going to be right on the platform without having to manually manage anything. And then finally, there's some other diagnosis options that are available, such as telling you what happened with that device when it came in, what was certified, fixed, or otherwise repaired, and giving you a full view and breakdown for your instrumentation about what's going on. So there's various charts and other things that we're able to show to really get this data over to you and in front of you and make it very clear and actionable. And then finally, there's the connectivity within X-Rite Link. This is the newest device that X-Rite offers, and it has Wi-Fi capability and pairs well with X-Rite Link. So what it's able to do is allow you to connect between platform and device to do things like push security and firmware updates, ensure profile consistency with user profiles that can be sent to and from the instruments to help configure them, as well as jobs and other files that can really help to streamline a workflow and make you more efficient so that you spend less time managing your spectrophotometers and more time running your organizations and your businesses. So with that, we will be able to pull up Link, and let's take a look at the platform itself. So here's a real-time view of X-Rite Link. We've got a few devices that are loaded up. And one thing you'll notice is that there's an array of different spectrophotometers here. All the different hardware models that X-Rite makes can be brought onto X-Rite Link. So whether it's a handheld 045 or one of the bench tops, all of those are compatible with the system and will show you the same basic information. To help make it actionable and easy to use, there's a number of different filters and ways to sort through the information on X-Rite Link. So first and foremost, there's locations. Locations can be set up in a hierarchical format to meet the needs of your organization. So whether it goes from a region to a country, you can keep continuing that all the way down to a facility and even a press line if you want to. It's 100% configurable to meet your needs. But by clicking any of those locations, devices that are assigned to those spots are going to be sorted and pull up for you to use. Next is by model, and then there's also the different statuses. So for all the different statuses that X-Rite Link is able to track, you can go in, select those different statuses, and then choose what version of that status you want to look at. So by toggling red for expired, yellow for about to expire, or green for active, you can narrow in on, say, what devices have an expired certification that I need to take action on, for example. All this information is also sortable and can be exported to a CSV. But even without using any of these filters, we're able to get quite a bit of information just about these instruments. So there's a device name, which is fully customizable, the location that that device is assigned, as well as some basic device info. From there, there's the snapshot quick view of the different statuses. So whether it's the warranty or service care plan, you can see if it's expired, about to expire, or active. Same with certifications and Net Profiler. And then for our newest device, the Exact 2, you'll also notice the firmware version, and you can take action to make corrections there if needed. And then one final way to really visualize your fleet, understand where it's located, is with our maps view. So by assigning addresses to the different locations and then assigning devices to those locations, it can pull up on a view anywhere in the globe, giving you pins to really understand where your install base lies. From there, you can also click the pins, and it's going to quick sort to the various locations. And I do apologize, it looks like I have been logged out. So let me log back in here very quickly. My apologies about that. For security, we do have a timeout just so that a session isn't left inactive. But within that, you can click on the different maps, click the session, and it allows you to sort to the device of interest. So then within each device, by clicking on it, there's a device details page. All the information that was available on the previous screen is shown here. So whether it's the snapshot view or some more of the details. One thing you'll notice across the entire platform is there are these little boxes with pencils in them. Wherever you see that, that means it's an editable field. In this case, this is the device name. I can click that box, a text box will open up, and I can alter that name to be whatever makes sense for me. Similarly, I can come into the locations and choose a different location if I were to move this device from one spot to another across the organization, so that I always have a real-time view of where that device is assigned. And for added security, what we don't do with Link is actively track the devices. So there isn't any sort of GPS or IP tracking, so you can feel secure and confident that we're not managing anything in that way. So it is a secure system. So the location based is all manually assigned, such as you saw there. Further notes can be left about your different devices, just to add a little more context that you may want to save for those, as well as all the warranty, service care plan, and certification dates. So instead of having to track when does this device expire, both the date format's going to be shown here, as well as the status light over here. And say a device does need to come in for either a certification or a service of some sort, you can request service directly from the platform, and it will take you to the RMA request form from X-Rite, but pre-fill all the information about the device. So serial number, location, your information will get dropped directly in there to make you a little bit more efficient and get that process done quicker so that you can get back to what's most important to you. From here, there's a series of different tabs that have an array of information for all devices. So whether it be trainings, software, or other support articles, those will be dropped in here by the device type so that you're able to see and access them quickly without having to search anywhere. Then there's some of the great interaction that the platform has with Net Profiler. So in the PowerPoint, we saw a little bit about the Net Profiler statistics module, but for each and every device, you're also able to see a wealth of knowledge about those profiles to understand really what your device is doing and how it's operating. So in addition to some of the basics of what's the status, when do some of those expirations occur, as well as the ability to export the certificate directly from the platform to help maintain ISO 9001 standards, there's also some graphical views of the same type of information. So with Net Profiler, there's an array of tiles that you're going to measure, and that's going to then run through our algorithm and profile and verify that device that's performing at its best possible case. That data is then shown graphically here on the spider chart. So able to show the unprofiled to profiled values for each of those tiles, so you can really visually see the impact versus just looking at the data that's available in the certificate. Finally, over time, you're able to see the profile history, and this can be a great tool for preemptive service and taking action before something may be occurring. So looking at the unprofiled average versus the profiled average over time, you may notice that there was a drift occurring or something else that may preempt that action could be taken now before any downtime could occur in the future. But really giving some pretty good information about how this device is operating. And then of course, there's some extended features that are available only with the X-Acto and its connectivity. And those come in with some options like updating firmware. So the device will be able to tell the platform, this is my firmware version, and if that's not current, there's an option to update it directly from here. So instead of having to find a device, connect it to a computer, go through the update process, with a click of a button, that firmware is going to be sent to the instrument and it will update in real time so that you're running the latest features, options, and the most security on that device. There's also an array of other things that we're able to do with the instrument, such as send and receive different file types. So user profiles we touched on before. You can request a user profile directly from the device by clicking this button, and then you can deploy that user profile to an array of other X-Actos in your fleet. What this allows you to do is save all the different files and configurations automatically to those instruments so that they're all set up the same. So instead of having to configure each and every one, you can have one master user profile or an array of different profiles and swap them out very easily and quickly on one or multiple devices. Next, there's different file types such as color libraries, Pantone Live color libraries, and tools and jobs that you can deploy from X-Rite Link to the devices. It's helping you to get set up on those instruments more quickly, again, without having to go find them, plug them into a computer, make those updates. This can all be managed directly through the platform and pushed out to those instruments. And then the final thing we're able to do with the X-Acto is send a message to the device. So there's direct messaging capabilities by clicking this button, and it's essentially a text message that can be sent from the platform down to an instrument, allowing, say, fleet manager to communicate directly with an associate out on the floor using one of the instruments. So just another tool that's available within the platform to give you direct communication with those individuals. So now let's take a look at the Net Profiler Statistics module. That can be found over here. Everything is modularized within X-Rite Link. So there are different parent modules with different sub-modules below them. So in this case, we were looking at the devices page a moment ago. Let's jump over to Net Profiler Statistics. So in this module, everything is sorted by device type. So let's take a look at the X-Actos that we've got on this demo here. There's 3 X-Actos, 2 of which have an active profile. We can then see the impact that those profiles are having on the instruments, as well as visually be able to see the representation on the histogram of what's going on, really allowing us to prove proficiency and capability to customers, but also internally keep tabs on our devices and understand if there's a problem arising or if the devices in the fleet are operating efficiently together. There's a few other data views with some different pie charts, followed up by a table at the end showing the basic statuses, giving you a very clear list that can be actionable of what devices may need to be profiled or which devices are okay. With finally the ability to export all the active certificates in one click. So instead of having to go device by device to gather those certificates, by clicking that button there, a single PDF will be able to be exported that has all the certificates for the active devices, just making you a little bit quicker, more efficient again throughout the process. And the final thing I want to take a look at today is the Content Manager. This again is going to be exclusive to the X-Acto and its connectivity capabilities. But what we can do is look at all those different file types that we took a peek at on the device details page, select, say, a user profile, select one or more devices that we want to send those user profiles to, and deploy them. It's as simple as that to get files that are up on link pushed down to the devices. And what's great is every X-Acto is going to have connectivity up to X-Rite Link, so they will be able to take full advantage of these features. We'll also be able to see all the other devices within the fleet, such as other X-Acts, benchtops, and the rest of the devices. So with that, I would like to turn it back over to you and see if there's any questions that we can talk through. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ben. So if you do have any questions that you haven't submitted, please feel free to submit them now. While we wait for questions, I am going to display another polling question. If you are interested in learning more about X-Rite Link or talking to someone, please feel free to answer this poll. I do see a few questions coming in, so while this is on screen, I will start to read those. First question, what devices are compatible with X-Rite Link?
Sure. So all the different X-Rite devices that are within our active service portfolio can be added. So that would be anything like the Exact 1, the Exact 2, the CI 6X family, which is the handheld spherical devices, the benchtops, as well as an array of others such as light booths and teletrack. So if it's any active hardware that X-Rite sells, it can be added onto Link.
How do I set up X-Rite Link with my Exact 2?
So if you have an Exact 2, through the registration process, you can onboard your device to X-Rite Link. So by going to myxrite.com, there's a registration feature that allows you to register that device, and then you'll be prompted to add that device into X-Rite Link. If you already had an X-Rite Link organization, it will be able to add that device directly to it, or it will go through a few short steps to create an organization, add yourself as an administrator, and get that device on there. So it's a pretty quick process, all done online, and opens then up the platform for you to use with your other team members.
Can you explain more about user access and permissions?
Certainly. So there is an array of different ways that we can really help manage who has access to what on X-Rite Link. So the locations are kind of the key within the platform itself. All the different devices and users are assigned to locations, with the idea being that, say there's someone at a certain facility that only needs to see the devices at that facility. They can be added a user with specific permissions to that facility, and when they log into X-Rite Link with their own credentials, they're only going to see those devices, whereas other people can be assigned as administrators, and they're going to be able to see the entire organization. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility and control to set up your locations, your users, and your administrators so that everyone has access to what they need, but also people don't have too much access to things that they may not need that could be extraneous to their jobs.
We'll take one more question here. Is my measurement data being uploaded to X-Rite Link?
So we do not upload any spectral data to X-Rite Link. Everything is kept on your end. There's no spectral information shared. For the devices that are not connected, such as some of those legacy devices, all the information is coming from the X-Rite backend, such as certification records when it comes to the service center, or our net profiler system. For the Exact 2 where it's connected, the same thing is true with those different records. But then all the files are managed directly within your portal. So there's no measurement information, no tracking on devices, keeping you secure and in control of all of your information.
Perfect. Thank you, Ben. This will wrap up here for today. If we didn't get to your question, we will be sure to follow up with you. But this will end our webinar. Thanks again for joining us today and have a great day. And thank you for presenting, Ben.